Okay, well, nobody's in the meeting yet.
Here we go. We're a little late because we had the Mincha and Ma'ariv today.
No problem.
I think most people are going to sign at 8:15.
How was your trip?
The trip was very good.
Oh, good.
In Portugal, we a lot of Jewish history, and it was a beautiful country.
Wait, who wanted to?
Thank you very much for that.
We left off on page 40.
Fran, she likes cookies.
Yeah.
She does. What does she like?
What's the number?
This?
40.
Like an apple.
40.
I'll give her two things. Because I don't know.
And this is a very critical halacha, eating and drinking before davening. We talked about
She's like me.
what kind of activities are prohibited prior to tefillah. Setting out on a journey. We discussed shaving or showering. There were some heterim regarding that. So another well-known activity that's forbidden before tefillah is eating and drinking. The Gemara in Bracha states that it's forbidden to eat or drink before praying. Masechta Brachos Daf Yomi Kesubos Daf. Amar Rav Yosef Rab Chanina Mishum Rab Eliezer Ben Yaakov. Ma'id Chsiv Lo Sochlu Al Adam. Hi Chaim. Yeah, let's wait till 8:15 because I think we told everybody 8:15. So Chaim, we're going to start on page 40.
Okay.
Here's Abe. Yeah, everybody's signing in at 8:15. Start again.
So, do you want to play?
Here's Yaakov. Nice to see you again, Yaakov. It was just a few days.
Yes, nice to see you again too. Likewise.
Yeah.
Right? You want? You don't.
We have more of a crowd here at the house today because we had Mincha and Ma'ariv. Because I had yard site today for my father. So the learning tonight will be Le'ilu Nishmas Yaakov ben Yecheskel. I've ordered volume 12. Volume 12 is just, it's just come out. So I ordered for all of us because we get a better price. And
That's not.
yeah, I ordered for all of you
We're
guys.
still putting the Shemitah off.
Say it again?
Shemitah we're putting off.
Yeah, I didn't order that. I ordered volume 12.
What's the subject today?
Eating and drinking before Shemona Esrei for davening.
Doesn't apply to women, right?
We'll see. And it says, What activities apply to women regarding what can they do before tefillah? Baruch atah Moshe Kohen V'ro. So we're going to deal with eating and drinking before tefillah. Page 40. The more brachos Daf Yomi Kesubos Daf. Amar Rav Yosef Rav Chanim Mishum Eliezer ben Yaakov. Mai dichsiv lo sochlu al adam. It's a weird formation of the pasuk. It should say lo sochlu es adam. Don't eat blood. What does it mean lo sochlu al adam? Don't eat on blood. That means lo soch. And the Gemara darshans lo sochlu kodem shetispalu al dimchem. Means when you daven, you're davening for your blood, that you should stay alive. So lo sochla, don't eat before you daven for your blood. Whoever eats or drinks before davening, all of a the pasuk in Malachim, va'osi shlachti achrei gavech, that you cast me behind your back. Al tikri gavecha ela geyecha. That means it's your pride and your haughtiness. Like in Loshen Bitmia, that means after this guy is so prideful that he has to eat and drink, only then he accepts Al Malchus Shemayim. So it's not a good idea. So is eating and drinking ever permitted before Shachris? Right, despite the Gemara's sweeping statement, not all food and drink is forbidden. The Rav Yah writes, the Rav Yah was a Rishon, writes that one is permitted to drink water, since it's not considered arrogant. Also, lodem shiachol kodem shispalo, chenami lishtos, can't eat or drink. Venerally davka midi de meshakir. The things that have been prohibited are things that make you.
Sorry, Ernie, I'm not.
We're
What
on
page?
page 40. Page 40.
Thank you.
Things that intoxicate you. The pasuk in brachos. There's no haughtiness in drinking water. So water you can drink. And then there's a biography of the Rav Yah. He lived in Bonn, in Germany. Based on this Rav Yah, Rav Yosef Karo, in the Beit Yosef commentary of the Tur, writes that Rav Yitzchak Abuav permitted eating or drinking for health considerations before Shachris, as this too does not qualify as being arrogant. So if a doctor tells a patient, thank you, that he has to eat or drink something early, it's not good for him to have to go for long without eating or drinking, then he's allowed to do it as well. Kosev Rabbeinu Gadol Maria Avuav, Deladat Avi Ezri, Muter Lechol V'Lishtos Oichlu Mashkim Refuah. You can eat or drink certain foods for medicinal purposes before davening. We'll clarify that a little bit more. There's no arrogance in taking medicine or some kind of medical kind of food. Rav Yosef Kor records both of these leniencies concerning drinking water and food for health considerations. That's no distinction between a weekday, Shabbos, or Yontif. If you have to eat or drink something for health reasons, you're allowed to do that. The Aruch HaShulchan, who's the more modern posek, right? The Aruch HaShulchan passed away in 1910, somewhere around that time, adds that not only is one who is ill permitted to eat before Shabbos, but even a healthy person who must eat food or medicinal items due to health considerations may do so. A diabetic may have to eat something, early on. Let's say a person cannot take certain medicines on an empty stomach. You have to eat something. So that would be a medicinal reason to eat as well. Says the Aruch HaShulchan, Kos Rabbeinu Beis Yosef, the Oichlu Mashkin Refuah Mutter. The Beis Yosef made a blanket statement that eating and drinking for food purposes would be permitted. Ve'ein kavanosu b'chol legomor. He's not referring to a sick person. The milsa de pshita afilu ein bo sakana. Let's say he's not a choila sheyesh b'sakana. Ela kavanot lokech refuah v'ein a choila. He's not sick. Ela kederech bali michushim afilu ein lo michush klal. Let's say he has, he wants to strengthen himself. Like in springtime, people take medicine to strengthen their bodies. If there's an eating or drinking aspect, mutter. It's not considered haughty. Even if he could have waited until after davening, it's still mutter. Somebody who has a weak heart, it's permitted to eat or drink something if a person is not eating for specific health considerations, but simply will feel very hungry during the tefillah if he does not eat. Is it permitted? We're asking the question. Means person knows himself. If he doesn't eat something before davening, his davening is not going to be much. He's going to have a headache. He's not going to be able to concentrate. Is he allowed to eat? What is halacha on Shabbos and Yontiv? When the davening doesn't conclude until late morning or even early afternoon. The Rambam writes that if a person's hunger or thirst will interfere with his concentration, he may eat or drink. Hatzameh v'arav, harein b'chlal cholim. Being hungry or thirsty, in a sense, you're a choile. Im yesh po yecholos lechavin es daito yispalal, v'im lava yispalal sheyochel v'yishta. If he can concentrate without eating, then he should try doing that. But if he can't, he can eat.
On Shabbos?
And on Shabbos and Yontiv.
On Shabbos, it can only be like after Krias Third, no?
So far, we haven't seen a criteria like that.
It's always
Okay.
spring to tefillah, meaning
Shmon Esrei. Shmon Esrei. All of this is the things that you're not allowed to do before Shmon Esrei. Rambam wrote that if you can have kavana without eating or drinking, then you should not eat or drink. But if a person knows that if he doesn't eat or drink something, he's not going to be able to have kavana during davening, then he should eat or drink something. Let's see how the Shulchan Aruch codifies it. Hatzameh v'harav, if somebody is thirsty or hungry, harehem b'chlal hacholim, so you're considered a cholim. Im yesh bo yechol s'chavin daito yispalo. If he can have kavana without eating or drinking, he should daven. Im lav, im ratzal yispalo sheyochel v'yishta. If he can't concentrate, he can eat or drink before davening. It should be noted that the Rambam's allowance here does not relate to ordinary hunger, which a person can ignore for some time, but to a case of extreme hunger that causes him to feel especially weak. And it's pointed out by the Mishnah Berurah, who cites the Lavush, who writes that a person must be extremely hungry to qualify for this leniency. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Arav Harbe. It's not just you're hungry, you got to be famished, according to Lavush. And about this drinking water, the Mishnah Berurah writes that it extends to drinking coffee and tea as well. The Mishnah Berurah does not allow adding sugar or milk unless the person is ill. The teva kafe mutar l'shtois according to Tefillah, k'dei sheyuchal lechavin daito l'hispalo, u'beprat b'makom yishrogim behen. It means a person who drinks coffee every morning and he's like jittery without his coffee, that's basically what he's referring to, then you can do it. When you say I should have a dice built on, that means you can't settle your nerves without having a cup of coffee or a tea, you can do it. Also, belot sukkar uvelo chalav. He says without sugar, without milk. Nowadays, when the custom is to drink tea with sugar or coffee with milk, many achronim are lenient, including Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach and Rav Yitzchak Yosef. Amargish tzarich lishtos kodem hatfila. Mutar lo lishtos kafeh and chalav v'sukkar. You're allowed to drink coffee with milk and sugar. Ach yitachet shnochel lamer kodem lachein dover bakosha gon shma Hashem chaneini. You should say a kapitel something before you eat, showing that you sort of davened a little bit to Hashem prior to eating. Says the Yakut Yosef, right, the son of Rav Avadia, Mutar lishtos kafeh or te gam im sukar kodem hatfila. He also says you can drink coffee or tea with sugar. Ubeprat sakrin shein amazing vein bo mishum gai v'klal. Here for all of the people who use Splenda, here he gets a shot. Splenda gets a shot out because it's not amazing. It doesn't nourish you. It doesn't bring your sugars up. It's not sugar. You don't absorb it. So that certainly would not bring it to haughtiness. But Philip Shabbos mutar lishtos kafeh or tea im sukar kodem tefillas shachris. Kiddush. The obligation of Kiddush, which we're going to see, that's what triggers an Isser eating. But up until now, before you daven Shachris, you have not had a trigger of Kiddush. Once the obligation of Kiddush takes effect, it's forbidden to eat or drink anything prior to reciting Kiddush. Rav Yosef's point is that since the obligation of Kiddush does not take effect before one davens, drinking coffee or tea is permitted. The halachas of Kiddush will be discussed in detail in the Tzur Rabbanim volumes on Hilchos Shabbos coming up, God willing. But the trigger of Kiddush is going to be later. So that's where it comes in by you, where there's a certain point where it's going to be also to eat or drink until you make Kiddush. That's why, for example, in Simchas Torah, where davening is later, at that point, there's a chiyuv Kiddush, and then you get your aliyah. We don't want you to have an aliyah drunk. So the minig is to get an aliyah and then make Kiddush, because you might wine or something else stronger, which we don't want you to have an aliyah drunk. Well, the Kiddush club, is they want to eat. They want to make Kiddush, so they don't want to wait until after davening. So they make Kiddush then.
I don't know talking about it either.
Rabbi Machronim mekil nishtos kafeh amozug imat chalav. Many of the Achronim permit to drink coffee with milk. Shadavka lishtos kas chalav be'ein yesh lachmer. He says you should not drink a glass of milk. You should be machmer that. Mashenke b'kafeh sheyesh bo chalav yesh lachmer, but coffee with a little milk you can be mekel. V'yesh cholkin ubachmirim b'zeh v'nir sheyesh lachmer b'zeh lo adam chalosh. Right? We saw the Mishnah Berurah was machmir. But for a weaker person, you can be lenient. He tells you what to do. Say birchas hashachar, say the birchas haTorah, uparchas ha'akeda, uktzas meseder karbonos. Va'az yishteh hakafe b'mzikas challah. Before you come to shul, you should say those things, and then you're okay. Rav Mordechai Eliyahu presents one limitation to the allowance of drinking coffee with milk or tea with sugar, namely that one should not drink them in a gathering with friends. Somebody who can't have proper kavanah without drinking a coffee or tea. His din is like a sick person who allows him to drink before davening. And therefore you could drink it with sugar. He should drink it by himself. So in general, we tend to do it with our families at the breakfast table, whatever. He wants to say it's probably better to drink the coffee alone, not to socialize with the cup of coffee that you have, because then it could be viewed as,
Friends, not family.
he says, el levado. He says you should do it alone. Now, what is the halacha with respect to a person who is weak or very hungry and cannot wait to eat until after Shabbos in shul, especially on Shabbos when the tefillah is long? Is it preferable for him to daven alone, not a minyan, right? And daven, and then eat or drink something first and then daven with the congregation? The Bir Halacha addresses this case and writes that he should ideally pray at home, eat something, and then attend shul, so that he can respond to Kaddish, Kedusha, and Baruch Hu. Says the Bir Halacha, who is the Chafetz Chaim, who goes into a little bit more depth in certain halachas in the Mishnah Berurah. Kosva Achronim, the ish chalash she'eno yochel lamid al nafsho ad eight shegormim at tzibur hagormim at tzibur tfilas v'beis haknesses. Tov yoter l'hatir shispal latzmo. A weak person who cannot last until the end of davening before eating should daven at home in his bebeito beboker. Because of this problem that you're not allowed to daven Shemona Esrei, you're not allowed to do all these activities before Shemona Esrei. Because lo sochlo adam, you're arrogant. Here you are davening in front of Hashem to ask for your life, and you're out, in a sense, fulfilling your needs. So it's not appropriate. So you should daven at home, v'yochel ma'at, and then eat a little bit. V'achar kach yelech b'beis haknesses lishmo kaddish u'baruchu u'shar divrei kedusha v'sheyochel kodem hatfilah.
Sorry,
V'yelech b'beis haknesses palim matzibur.
it seems like he's saying that you should daven the entire davening through Shemona Esrei.
You daven Shemona Esrei, and then you run to shul and try to catch a baruchu. Right. Let's say it's 9:00. The shul's going to get the baruchu at 9:30. So he wants you to daven at home, daven Shemona Esrei, 9:15, then go to shul, and you'll catch baruchu and kaddish and other things, kedusha for chakras in a chanami. He wants you to daven Shemona Esrei.
Just above it said, just do Birchas HaShachar
No.
and Karbanos.
So this the Bir
This is-
Aloch. The
yeah.
Bir Aloch is more machmir.
Yeah.
The Bir Aloch is more machmir. But up what we said above was say Birchas HaShachar and all those things, then have a cup of coffee with sugar, not eat. But let's say a person feels he's got to eat a Danish, or so he's got to eat something to maintain him. So that's more than coffee. So then you have to daven a Shemona Esrei at home by yourself, and then go to shul for baruchu and kaddish and kedusha and that. Rather than that's the halacha. The Bir Halacha is telling us. Now let's see what Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says to that. So just another leniency.
When does that make Kiddush?
Say again?
Does he have to make Kiddush at home after he does that,
No.
or what?
No. This little eating that he's doing now is prior to Chiyuv Kiddush. Chiyuv Kiddush is going to trigger later. And then he won't be able to eat anything until he makes Kiddush. But here there's no din of making Kiddush at 9:00 in the morning before you eat. If you have to eat. In general, they're advising us not to eat. So if we can't make it through davening without eating something, they're advising you to say Shemona Esrei at home, eat, and then go to shul and finish.
If he already davens, he's chayiv already in Kiddush. If he davens Shachris already, the chayiv Kiddush is. So before he eats, at that point, he should.
No, but he ate.
No, he davened first. He said that you have to daven first, do all those things,
Yes.
and then eat, and then go to shul.
Right, but he wants you to eat after you've said Shemona Esrei.
Yeah, so I'm asking, does he have to make Kiddush? How can he already davened Shachris?
Right, but I'm not sure just finishing Shachris is the only trigger for Kiddush. They said, they didn't get right. They said, we have to wait until we're going to learn the halachos of Kiddush in the later Tzurba. Let's put it this way. Right now, it seems that the chiyuv of Kiddush has not started, and he would not be required to make Kiddush. It doesn't say here that he has to make Kiddush. It says that he can eat and then go to shul for baruchu, etc. And l'chora, let's say the trigger is Kriyas HaTorah. So once Kriyas HaTorah starts, there's a chiyuv of Kiddush afterwards, and then you wouldn't be able to eat until you make Kiddush at that point.
Right.
I'm not sure yet that the chiyuv Kiddush just is triggered by the end of Shemona Esrei. There's some other things that have to be triggered before there's a chiyuv Kiddush. Rav Shlomo Zalman suggests another leniency. He writes that according to some opinions, one may eat less than a kazayas before chakras. Based on this, in cases of need, he allows one to eat less than a kazayas and then go to shul if it will enable him to daven properly. I think here the eating less than a kazayas is not to solve the kiddush problem. It's to solve the eating before davening problem. It's not considered like you ate. Usually achila is kazayis. So if you ate less than the kazayis, it's considered like you didn't eat. The Yalkut Yosef is more lenient, ruling that even those who must eat more than the kazayis are considered weak by the halacha and are permitted to eat before going to shul. Says the Yalkut Yosef, Kayom, Matzui Sharabim V'Toivim Toamim Minei Ma'afeh Kodem Atfilah. He says, many good people have a little Danish before coming to shul. So he wants to be Malamed Chus here. Ube'ikar b'Shabbosav Yomim Tovim, mainly Shabbos and Yontiv, Shebehem Atfilah Misareches Kama shows. Davening will stretch. Yesh Lamed Alem Chus. Shehem Begeder Roiv. They're considered hungry. V'nifsak roiv harei kechoy like Yediver Ramam Layam. So the Yalkut Yosef gives us the leniency that you can eat even more than the kazayas. Yalkut Yosef mentions one other case of consuming food that is permitted, namely swallowing a raw egg that is not defined as eating. My mother, when I sang in the shul choir, and they knew I was going to have a solo, so they made me drink a raw egg. In fact, they would put it into the tea. They would put it into because it was very hard to just eat the raw egg. They would put it into a tea or coffee.
It's called a goggle mogul.
A goggle mogul.
Yeah.
It's called goggle mogul. What do you mean? All the chazonim used to have it, but they used to have it with a little whiskey or brandy in the morning before davening.
Right. So that's why they're writing this. Is not defined as eating. It's permissible to give a child under bar mitzvah food before Shachris. Mutar l'shliach tzurba l'gmoa beitza chaya according to Tefillah Shachris. So the chazan is allowed to swallow a raya k'dei l'tzachtzach es koila she'et solo in order to clear his vocal cords. Kivan she'derech rav oilam l'gmoa is a chaya. It's not the derech for most people to eat a raya egg. Ve'ein aliyat toiras oichel kol kach. It's not really considered food. Loshach kazeh gaiva. And therefore it doesn't fulfill this arrogance that a person's having by eating prior to davening. Mikol makom, sorach levorach aleh birchas haneni. Notice they don't say anything about kiddush. Right? Tov shekodem lechen yivorach kol birchas hashachar birchas haTorah parshas akedah k'tzas yisera kabonis. Mutter lotet lekatan shlagili gimel shana uga. Chalav, you can give him cake and milk. According to the basic lessons, Paul Phil Shachros bein b'chol bein b'Shabbos. A blanket heter for the child. There's no issue with chinuch that you gotta teach the child not to eat. No, it's not shaykh. What about eating and drinking before dawn? Prohibition of eating before prayer begins at dawn, like the prohibition on attending to one's needs, as discussed in the shir. Meaning, once Alois HaShachar hits, then you can't take a shower. Or all the various things we learned 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, that you go on a journey. But prior to Alos, there's no trigger of tefillah yet. So that you can do things. You could wash, you could go on a journey. Okay? What about eating? It means the Isser, the prohibition of eating begins Alois, because that's when tefillah begins. If one is up early or stays up all night, he's permitted to eat before Alos. The Shulchan Aruch records two opinions as to whether one must stop it then if he began eating a meal beforehand. So the stam, whenever stam v'yesh in the Shulchan Aruch, the stam is the first opinion, and the v'yesh is usually the second, right? V'yesh oimim she'ein tzarich lahafsik. And there's a whole debate if you have stam v'yesh, how do we paskin? By the way, a minority, I'll read the footnote, a minority of other poskim also hold that one may eat normally before attending tefillah at shul if it will allow one to have the proper kavanah. The Eretz Tzvi, Lubavitcher Rebbe, and the Piskei Teshuvot. So there's leniencies regarding eating a regular breakfast prior to davening. So the Shulchan Aruch brought a stam v'yesh, machloikes, whether or not, if you ate before alois, whether you have to stop by alois. The Mishnah rules in accordance with the stam, that one must stop eating even if it began before dawn. Kosva achronim, she'a'ikr kasvar rishoina. The achronim wrote that the logic regarding this whole issue is like the stam, the first opinion. So if he already benched and now he's just drinking now, there's not food anymore, then certainly he should stop once alos comes. The Mishnah also writes that one should ideally not begin a meal within a half hour before alos hashachar. You might come to continue eating and forget to daven. Nevertheless, he permits one to recite Birchas HaShachar first and then eat a meal. Also, there are certain jobs people have to wake up early in the morning. The produce market downtown, 4 a.m. Some say that they have to stop 30 minutes prior to alois. You should cite Birchas HaShachar before you eat at that time. By the way, the footnotes. The Mishnah Berurah brings the Prima Godim that eating a meal, convening a court case, and working in a tannery are all included in this category of activities performed before dawn, before alos. And the stringency we just quoted of saying Birchas HaShachar before you eat, even before alos, is mentioned in a number of other achronim, including the Shulchan Aruch HaRav, that's the Balatanya, and the Eliyahu Rabbah. Mishnah Berurah makes references to these opinions. Now, the Zohar, right, the source book for Kabbalah, is more stringent than the Shulchan Aruch and forbids eating anytime at night, even if one stopped before dawn. According to the Zohar, when a person sleeps for a full night, it's not good to eat even before dawn, unless he stipulated to do so before he went to sleep. It means those of us who wake up before alos on fast days because we want to eat something, you always should make it tonight, the night before, and say, I'm going to be doing this. You prepare for it. That's what he's talking about, that you want to make a t'nai. However, it's preferable to make a condition to permit it, even according to the Zohar. The Chachamim prohibited you to eat once Mantfila hits. Prior to Alois, even though he slept 5-6 hours on his bed, says the Yalkut Yosef in mystical literature, they're very stringent. Somebody who slept a good sleep at night, you can't eat even before Mona Shachar. Ad she's Palo Shachris. The hoil of the Talmud of the Poiskim of Lahakel. There are leniencies in the Gemara and Poiskim, like we mentioned. Yesh lahorus halacha kedivrei af neged Zohar. The Yalkut Yosef says we can paskin against the Zohar because of the Talmud and the various poskim that were lenient. Mikomakom hatsnui moshkem es yadeim umonim atzam militam ugos ominim etika. A bal nefesh, right? Somebody who's very careful in halacha usually will not eat cake or sweets. Because of the Zohar that prevents you really from wanting to eat anything. Those that are machmir on themselves, it's only coffee or tea. The Zohar didn't say anything by drinking. Page 48. Activities forbidden before tefillah for women. In principle, women have the same restrictions as men with respect to the activities forbidden before. What did we say? Lo tachlu al adam. You've got to daven for your life. So don't eat, don't all of a sudden have a meal before that. Well, women are davening for their life too. Based on that svara, they would have the same prohibitions. They too may not eat or drink in the same manner as men. And the Halichos Pas Yisrael brings it. Gamal Anoshim, the Abonis, Asura Achila or Shtil of Neit Tfilah Shachris. Ela im Keni non begetter Cholshos or Cholos. Unless they're weak or sick, Hamuteres Peti Imo, B'Shtias Machka Al Piyadit, that are permitted to drink. On the other hand, some Achorim hold that women can fulfill their obligation of tefillah simply with a short paragraph. This will be discussed more in the second shir, the second chapter, the obligation chiyuv tefillah. What is the chiyuv for women? That means some hold that the chiyuv tefillah me'ikar adin is minimal. They have to say certain things. We'll see, not necessarily Shmona Esrei, and then they're potter from tefillah. If so, perhaps women may simply recite a short paragraph, such as Birchas Torah, and then eat breakfast. Rav Chaim Nissel writes in Rikshe Lev that contemporary poskim have disputed this. According to the Minchas Yitzchak was Dayan Weiss. He was the Av Bezdin before Rav Sternbuch, maybe 20 years ago. And Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, women may indeed recite a short section of tefillah and then eat. While poskim such as Ephraim Greenblatt disapprove of this practice. I was zocha to meet Rav Ephraim Greenblatt, the Rivavos Ephraim. He has like 20 volumes of halacha. He lived in Memphis. He was one of the Talmidei, if not the Talmid Muvak of Rav Moshe Feinstein. And after Rav Moshe Feinstein's death, Rav Ephraim Greenblatt was one of the major poskim in America that all shilas came to. I met him once in Tzvika Reisman's backyard, where we were, had the opportunity to learn with him on one of these issues that we were dealing with, urology. And I also met him with Tzvika in Israel, where we sat with him for about an hour when we came on our testicular transplantation tour, where we gave lectures on that. And we videotaped. He passed away soon after, Rav Ephraim Greenblatt. He lived right near Rabbi Gottesman in Beit Vagan. So the Rivavos Ephraim, the Ephraim Greenblatt, is an important posek. Rav Yaakov Yellen, did you guys, had he already left to Memphis by then, or what was, did you know Rav Ephraim Greenblatt? No. He was sent to Memphis, I think, in the early 50s by Rav Moshe.
Yeah, I don't remember.
He just passed away in the last year or two. He was in his 90s. So let's see what the Rikshe Lev brings. Some poskim maintain that all women, even if they are not terudos means they're busy with children and all that, may eat breakfast before davening. But before eating, they should daven at tefillah tzara. Some poskim disprove of this custom, even though they observe that this is the prevalent practice. See further in Rikshe Lev for discussion of whether girls in school or seminary may go to their regular classes before reciting Shachris. He concludes that it's permitted, but ideally one should arrange one's schedule so that it can be completed before class. I mean, they should daven before class. Normally I go Rav Moshe Halberstam. Rav Moshe Halberstam is the father-in-law of Rav Matisyahu Deutsch. Rav Matisyahu Deutsch is the current Rav and Posek of Ramat Shlomo in Yerushalayim, big suburb. I was zocheh to have haskama from him on the Kahal Hashem. He gets massive amounts of shilas. The day I visited him, he showed me a drawer. This is Rav Moshe Halberstam's son-in-law. His institute is called Yad Ramah, Reish Mem Hey. Yad is like a memorial, Yad Ramah, memorial for Rav Moshe Halberstam. Rav Moshe Halberstam in the previous generation was one of the major medical poskim in Israel. And what Matisyahu Deutsch shows me a drawer with 50 maros that he got the night before. means women bringing to him bedika cloth, so for him to evaluate the color of the dam. Are they permitted to their husbands? Prohibited them? He got 50 in one night. Shows you that they live their lives ka'alocha every step. Okay, so Kain Amali Hagon Rav Moshe Alberstam. Isha Yechol Lino Lechatchila Ispal Miktas Brachos. She says that Lechatchila, a woman could just say a few brachos, V'lech Laruchas Boikin, and then eat breakfast. V'achakach Ispal Tefillah Rigid, then daven. Ein B'minchas Yitzchak, right, the Dayan Weiss. Shekosav Zel Shon Das Mogad Avram. Da Anoshim Yoitzis Be'ez Bakosha. U'Rishois Lachol Miyad Achakach. Women are Yotzei, their Chiyuv Tefillah with a Bakosha, asking Hashem for something. And that's Tefillah for them. V'ayin b'sefer Emes Yaakov, right? Lagon Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky. After Kaimel and Ikr Lalocha Ka Ramban, even though the paskin that the halachas like Ramban did not show chayavis b'tefillah, that women are chayav in tefillah rabbanon mitam rachmi because they need mercy too. V'aleihem lispal b'chol yom shachros u'mincha. They should daven every day shachros u'mincha. V'chein noagu anoshim belita. So did women have the practice in Lithuania. Mikol makom l'gabi ha'isur lechol kodem atfilah. This isur of being prohibited to eat before davening, yesh makom anoshim lismoch. Women can rely on Das Rambam. Like we said, the Rambam. We haven't learned the Rambam yet. The Rambam and the Ramban, the Rambam and the Ramban are going to have a machlokas when we learn chiyuv tefillah regarding women. That the Rambam holds that they're yotzei with eza bakosha, v'lechol achar, and therefore you can, and then can eat afterwards. Wants to say that in a Torah, if they're yotzei with just a bakosha, let them do the bakosha. Then they can eat a little bit. Then they can, once they have some energy, then they can daven a regular davening. However, Kacham early Agon Rav Ephraim Greenblatt. Kach noyagos lechol v'achakach lispala. That the minig that they eat, then they daven. V'anita nesi shein ze minig toiv. Rav Ephraim Glimmer felt it was not a good minig. Ela shispal v'achakach yoichlu. And of course, he quotes his Rebbe Uligris Moshe. Af elu ayoidos lispalu mispalos kol yom yesh lo kiblu alayu isra achila kodem tefilasa. He brings a Rav Moshe that says even those that know how to daven and daven every day, they didn't accept on themselves this prohibition of achila. Shenoagu oichlos she'oichlos achar sheyomer ezer bakosha v'tzorachin ladina. That the minig was that they would say a certain bakosha and then eat, and he left it as a tzorachin ladina. So that's why Rafaim Grimblatt was mafakpek whether the minig was a good minig. Okay, so we see there's a machlokas. Despite the machlokas, contemporary poskim are often more lenient concerning girls who daven together in school, but find it difficult to eat breakfast after that in such cases. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach rules that it's permitted for them to eat at home first, after reciting a short tefillah or request, and then daven more fully in school.
What's a short tefillah they're supposed to say?
So they brought a pasuk before. Chaneni Hashem Chaneni. You could say a kapitel Tillim that has bakoshas in it. That's enough. And we're going to see, I think, when we learn chiyuv tefillah by women, they're going to quantify and say exactly what they should say as a tefillah ktsara. Let's see what the Halichos Bas Yisrael says. Kach Kosav Liagon Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, to the author of the Halichos Bas Yisrael. Le'inyan b'noi seminarim, the girls that go to seminar. Let's see, in the Israeli Haredi world, the Hebrew term seminar usually refers to both high schools and post-high school seminarians, which are often run under the auspices of the Beis Yaakov Educational Network. The halacha under discussion would be relevant to any girl over bat mitzvah who travels to school every morning. Those in dormitories should theoretically be able to daven before eating more easily. So lenient b'noi seminarим v'chadoim harotzis lechol b'veis, those who want to eat in their home, kodem halichas lebeis hasefer, before they go to school. Rei Mishnah Brura, shemachmer b'shachros u'v'mincha. He's machmer that shouldn't eat. Ulamaisa no lahakel, but the minig for women was to be lenient. Uvalvad sheyomer rezet tefillah k'tzar v'yikru kriya shema b'boiker. They should say a davening and kriya shema in the morning before they eat. V'zeh metamei chinuch. That's for chinuch. Shari p'turis b'nadin me kriya shema. Women are potter me kriya shema. B'shach b'chumach, it's tied to time. So it's like we learned. Now, let's just finish the machshava. We've already discussed the basic reasons given by the Gemara and commentaries for the prohibitions related to engaging in certain activities before tefillah. On a deeper level, understanding the significance and importance of tefillah in our daily routine can also help to explain the imperative to engage in tefillah first before other activities. One source that may help is the statement in the Rav Yehuda Levi in the Sefer HaKuzavi. He writes that, remember that Rav Yehuda Levi lived in the year 1200, was a Rishon. He writes that tefillah is considered spiritual sustenance for the soul, and the soul requires that 3 times a day. V'yeh pri yoimoy v'leilo also sholish itois atfila. The 3 times that we have to daven, that's basically the product of a day. Haseder hazel nefesh kaseder mazon laguf. This seder of the 3 davenings in a day is like our 3 meals for the body. He davens for his soul, he eats for his body. Then he shares the effect of the tefillah stays with him until the next tefillah. The same way that the nourishment that we have for lunch keeps us going until dinner. In fact, the soul weakens and weakens as the period of time from the last davening gets longer and longer. That means the further away it is from, let's say, mincha. We don't have, between mincha and Marav, we have it right away, but let's say the long distance between shachris and mincha, the soul feels it. Rav Kook is quoted in the Oras HaTefillah, which is authored by Rav Moshe Tzvi Neria. Rav Moshe Tzvi Neria is one of the founders of the Bnei Akiva movement. Rav Moshe Neria founded, I believe, Kfar Haroeh. And the Kfar Haroeh, which is the first Bnei Akiva yeshiva in Kfar Haroeh. Haroeh relates to Rav Kook, Rav Avram HaKohen Kook. So Rav Neria was one of the major Talmidim of Rav Kook, and he's like one of the founders of Bnei Akiva, and he's the founder of the first Bnei Akiva yeshiva, Kfar Haroeh. You looking it up, Bernie?
No, I'm looking at it.
As saying that tefillah does not simply have an impact upon a person during the time that he prays, rather it impacts his entire day. The difference between somebody who davens and somebody who doesn't daven. One guy designates time for davening, the other guy no. Yeshkan Hevdel Ikari says there is a fundamental difference between these 2 people. Sort of the way they live their lives, the quality of their life are different. Also, the act of davening sort of creates a stempel for the whole day. So if, according to the Kuzari, our tefillah is critical as soul food, as physical food is for the physical body, so it's logical that this soul food should be given in the morning before one's physical food and other needs. This is therefore because one thereby demonstrates to Hashem that although one's physical body and needs are certainly important, fulfilling one's spiritual needs are the ultimate goal of life and our existence in the world. Similarly, if, as Rav Kook teaches us, our tefillah has an indelible impact upon our entire day, it stands to reason that this should be the first major activity that we engage in after waking up, so that everything thereafter can be positively impacted by the positive of our tefillah. Through being careful about the halachas of not engaging in forbidden activity before tefillah and engaging in our tefillah in a serious manner, we should merit to bring to fruition the words of the Kuzari and Rav Kook, that our soul is properly sustained and our day becomes an entirely transformed experience. Okay, so next week, we will begin learning the chiyuvat tefillah, where it comes from, who has it, is it the same for men and women? You can see further on. We will be learning what kind of kavana, what proper, what position do you have to be in, and not just standing, but what kind of standing, and the kavanas that you're supposed to have. What about the hefsek? What about the shliach tzibur, the tefillah sat tzibur, and the tashlumim davening, Hazar Sashatz, Birchas Kohanim. So stay tuned. Any questions, any comments, anybody? I'm going to turn off the tzorba and then we'll do the daf. Okay.
Shkoyach.
Go to, you want-
Well, give me a
Yeah.
few minutes, Walter, before we turn on the daf. I'll wait
Okay.
for you while you get home. You may not because you're tired?
I'm tired.
Okay. So
What I was looking at was the dates for you.
It's like 12.
And Alta,
Hey, Walter.
what's happening, bud?
God, a great day. How's about you?
Every day is a great day as long as we're vertical and not horizontal.
I just booked a ticket to Eretz Yisrael for Cassie and I, actually.
When are you going?
November, Thanksgiving week.
Okay, nice. Who's in Eretz Yisrael this year? Anybody?
2 kids, actually. Akiva back
Really?
at Nativ Aryeh, and Talia starts in seminary. So,
How does he like Nativ Aryeh?
well, this is Shana Gimel, so I guess that means he likes it.
Rabina must like him.
Yeah,
I didn't know that he's at Nativ for so long.
yeah.
Okay. He's there for Sukkot or he's coming home?
Mirz Hashem, you'll be there?
Yeah. So I'll take care of him. Don't worry. He'll come over.
No, thank you so much. I'm sure he'd love to see you.
Okay.
Glad to hear you're going to use your new place.
Right. I've used it many times already. Thank God. Thank God.
Yeah,
Did
I hear
Marlene
Sukkot's
reached
special there.
Marlene reached out to you today, right?
No.
Yes, she did. She sent you an email. I saw the email.
Okay, maybe in the afternoon. I was on appointments, but I'll get to it in the morning, gladly.
Please. You guys are very busy. Esty had an operation yesterday. Thank God she's home today. So.
Yeah, I overheard when I was in Sheer at Ernie's yesterday. I heard she did very better than expected.
Yeah, thank God. So she's home today. So that's
Wow,
good. Nisim and Niflaot.
that's amazing. Does she need help? You need a nurse or anything?
No, we have a nurse. Of course, we have a nurse. Yes.
Okay.
Why you wanted to be the nurse or what's going on here?
No,
How come you know nurses? I guess
because I'm fond of the Philippine people. What can I tell you?
no. So we have a proper nurse, for the next few days, please God, so that she gets well, and that's it.
Good. Should be up and walking soon enough, hopefully.
She is walking already.
Wow,
She was up yesterday afternoon walking.
amazing.
Yeah. No, she has, they had to take out some of the hardware. So
I always thought they just put it in and that was it. It was in.
no, what happens is once the basically what happens is the bone grows again, right? So once that happens, so the hardware is not necessary anymore.
it's not necessary anymore. Once the fusion takes place, right? They fuse, which sometimes they don't, sometimes they do, but if they fuse well, so then that hardware is, and she's very thin, so it bothered her when she had an operation 20 years ago. So there was, and that we didn't want to take it out because it's complicated. So we didn't, but it bothered her all the time. And now this time when they did it again, so it was really, you could feel it, on her back. She's very thin and it actually stuck out. So every time she sat, it was painful.
All right. I'm glad to hear it's out, and I'm glad to
Yeah,
hear
but-
that this surgery is better than the 20-year ago one. That sounds great.
Well, no, the 20-year-old one was different. They learn a lot of things in 20 years, technology and everything else. Yep, things change.
Well, hopefully this is the last surgery she'll need. This
Yeah,
is
well, I
good,
asked
good to go.
I asked the doctor, this is her basically fourth surgery. She had 3 major surgeries, which were all more than 9 hours. So that when she had the first one when she was 18, I hope we're not being recorded or something.
No,
The recording is on,
I'm not recording anything.
Yeah, no.
Very
Okay.
nice family. We
So
met them last.
excited.
Ernie, nobody switched the recorder off and we were busy hacking over
Really?
Oh,
Even though we don't have it on?
Oh, no.
here. Yeah, it's recording.
Terrible.
Wait, well, let me turn it off.
No, that's.
Turn it off.
Not while we were talking about Walter, was it?
How do you
No,
turn-
we're talking about people
No, I'm
jealous.
joking.
Stop video?
Mental, that's-
Yeah,
You
and
gotta
then
raise
put it on.
No, but I didn't say anything bad about
I don't know, but still.
You just-
No, it's not the video, it's the recording, but that's okay.
Oh, here,
We,
stop.
we didn't say anything bad about you.
Please ask the host to give you permission to record.
There really wasn't anything bad.
Who's the host now?
Here, let me leave.
Except my-
The host is Mario, no? It still says recording.
Yeah, it says so.
Whole world's gonna hear this.
No, it's still recording. It's okay.
So now it's being recorded.
Yeah, so that's for-
I'm sorry about Mincha Mara, Bernie. I went to my neighbor. I just figured you were so full last
I
night.
know, but we had a
apologize.
minion. Thank you, Kenny. We had a minion. We're on Chaf Hey, I think, right? Chaf Hey. Correct?
Yeah.
Elamai G'doy Chazaka. We said the Ezra Sofer told the Kohanim that they have a Chazaka. And so what's the big chiddush about the G'doy Chazaka? Meikar Ochel B'Trumad Rabbona. That initially in Bavel, they weren't eating Truma Midoraisa, it was only Truma Rabbona. But here, Hashta Achol B'Truma Doraisa. Here, the Chazak is extended that you would eat even Truma Doraisa in Eretz Yisrael. The by some others say that the Chazak is something else. Hashta Nami B'Truma Rabbanon Achol. Here also, they're only going to eat Truma Rabbanon. B'Truma Doraisa Lo Yachol. They're not going to eat Truma Doraisa. And the Chimaskina Mitruma Liyuchsin. Yesterday we learned about if you see somebody eating Truma, can you be mila them to Yichus? That's B'Truma Doraisa. But B'Truma Rabbanon Lo Maskina. When you see a coin eating Truma Rabbanon, that's not necessarily proof that he's a full-fledged coin. So then it's my G'dola Chazaka. The Afal Gav the Ikal Migzur B'Truma Doraisa Lo Kazrina. Maybe we would have not even allowed them to eat Truma Rabbanon because of Gzeira Truma Doraisa, so we're not Goizer. Afraid to go more of Truma Doraisa Lo Yachol. Did those Kohanim not eat Truma Doraisa? I'll show you that they did eat. Haksiv asher lo yoichlu mikodesh hakadoshim. They didn't eat hekdesh. Mikodesh kadoshim would lo yochlu. But Truma Doraisa achol. But they did eat Truma, even Doraisa Truma. How can you tell me that they did not eat. What? 1 second. So Hachikamer, lo b'mididikri kodesh. Ezra told them they don't eat. They're not eating things that are called kodesh t'chsiv v'chozar lo yochel kodesh, which refers to truma. V'lo b'mididikri kodshim t'chsiv uvas koyen kisiel yizar hi b'trumas hakodeshim lo soichel. That a bas kohen that's married to a non-kohen stops eating certain kodshim. Omer mar b'murim and hakodshim lo soichel. Things that are like the chazav v'shok of a shlomim that are elevated from a shlomim, she can't eat. Toshma. Chazak l'kuhuna nesiyas kapayim b'Bavel. What establishes evidence that he's a kohen? If somebody was duchening in Bavel, achilas chala b'Surya. Chala is also given to a kohen. So if you saw somebody ate chala in Surya, the chiluk matonis pekrochin, the giving out the chavdal of matonis kuhuna, the Zroa, the L'chaim, and the Keva in cities in Eretz Yisrael. Ktani Miyas comes out to what you're saying, Nesiyas Kapayim, my lovely Yosef. When we say Chazaka L'Kehuna and Nesiyas Kapayim Bavel, maybe that answers our question regarding can you elevate somebody L'Yichus based on him doing Dochening? Lo L'Truma. That means if you see somebody Nesiyas Kapayim, you can give him Truma. I vadumi the chilas chalak tani, ma chilas chalak liyuchsin avdesis kapay liyuchsin. So just like chalak, the person could be, if you see somebody eating chalak, you can elevate him regarding his yichus. The same thing by nasias kapay. Lo, achilas chalak is gufa letruma. It's also only for truma. If you see him eating chalak, you can eat truma. So chalak is manazed rabbanon. Chalak today is rabbanon utruma deraisa. And truma in Eretz Yisrael is midaraisa. Umaskinin mechalad rabbanon letruma deraisa. We elevate somebody when we see them eating challah, eating truma deraisa. K'da apich le Rav Huna b'Rav Yeshua rabbanon. The way Rav Huna and Rav Yeshua explained to the rabbanon, switch to Runi, as we're going to explain. Toshma. Chazaka lekuhuna nesiyas kapayim v'chilik ronas Eretz Yisrael. If you see a kohen dochening, if you see him being delivered truma in Eretz Yisrael, or Besuria v'chol makom sheshluchei Rosh Chodesh Magin, or any of the places where the messengers that were sent out by the Bezdin to declare Rosh Chodesh. Nesiyas kapayim raya. Avalo lo chiluk grones. Duchening, yes, but not giving out truma. Ubebavel ubesuria. And this is Nesiyas kapayim in Bavel and Surya. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Omer, Af Alexander shel Mitzrayim b'Rishoina. Even in Alexandria, they were based in Queen Sham. They were based in there. Kitani Mias comes out, whatever you want to say from this Baraisa, that Nesiyas Kapayim is a chazaka, my lovely Yuchsin. Isn't it to elevate his yichus? Lo l'chala, so that you can give him chala. Right, the Gemara Hadumya, the chiluk granas starts similar to giving out truma. And ma chiluk granas lichus, if you see somebody getting truma at the granary, it's for yichus of Nesiyas Kapayim Yuchsin. Lo, chiluk granas is also not for yichsin. It's gufa l'chala. Savar truma b'zman hazed rabbanon. V'chala d'oraisa umaskina mitruma rabbanon l'chala d'oraisa. K'shachinu Rav Huna b'red Rav Yeshua rabbanon. Am Rav Huna b'red Rav Yeshua shkachil rabbanon b'vei Rav d'Yasser v'Kamri. We found the Chacham Yeshiva of Rav in learning. Afilu l'mandam truma b'zman hazed rabbanon. Even who says truma b'zman is only in rabbanon, chala d'oraisa. Chala has a d'oraisa dekachil. Sharei, sheva shekivshu v'sheva shekivshu. 7 years that Yoshua and Klal Yisrael conquered and divided. Nischayvu b'chala v'lo nischayvu b'truma. There was already a chiyuv chala, but not a chiyuv truma. V'yaminalu ana other rabba filaman d'truma is a d'oraisa. I say just the opposite. Even according to those people who say truma is d'oraisa, chala is only drabbana. The Tanya, bevoachem el haaretz. When you come into the land, you eat challah. So maybe when the 2 or 3 meraglim came in, that triggered challah. No. Talmud Omer b'voachem. B'vias kolchem amarti v'lo b'vias miktzaschem. Now, let me just quote some halacha here. Kohanim, says the Rambam, Kohanim bizman hazeh hareim Kohanim mikoach hachazaka. There's a chazaka that their father tells them they're Kohen. Mishum kachem mishem lechol rak b'truma. They can eat truma, v'davke b'truma v'devrei sofrim. Then mi shehedu alav shnei edim shayochel b'truma shel Torah. 2 edim come and tell us that this Kohen was eating truma midoraisa. He's a Kohen miyuchas. You can give him his 5 sloim for pidyon ben. However, mi sheroas or noisei kapov, or reads the Torah the first is Kohen. Machshiv also Kohen kishtar Kohen bizman hazeh. Shem Kohen b'koach hazaka bilvad. Chala drabonon. Choyvas chala yiminatori be'eretz Yisrael bilvad. Uvizman shekol yoshvei alea. When ganz Klaiser are living there. V'lachein af mimei Ezra b'mei Baisheni eina chala noegas el medivrei sofrim. The din of chala is only midrabonon since the time of Ezra Sofer. When you separate chala, it's chala drabonon. What about truma bizman hazeh? Because of our Rambam, shebizman hazeh, mechurban bayis rishon v'hala, ein truma b'chol makom, afilu be'eretz Yisrael, even the places that the Oilei Bavel held on to, elam medivrei soifim bilvad. That's how the Rambam. Ravid choylek, the Ravid argues. The sover ki truma be'eretz Yisrael imidorais gam bizman hazeh. Because of a mafarshim ki adavar toleb machlokes Rav Yochanan Reish Lakish in Yevamis Pei Aleph. Rav Yochanan held that truma bizman hazeh is doraisa. Reish Lakish says midrabanan. V'Ravid paskin like Rav Yochanan. And the Rambam held the halacha is not like Rav Yochanan. So since there's a machlokes tanoim, the Rambam says we should go that truma bizman hazeh is midrabanan. That's what the Mishnah Melech says. The Machaber and the Shulchan Aruch is Machrei Kedas Rambam, and so is the Rashba. Okay, back to the Gemara. V'lo b'vias miktzazcha v'chiaskinu Ezra lav kula soluk. When Ezra, not everybody came up to Eretz Yisrael, so therefore chala was not min haTorah. Hello. Hi.
They can hear you.
It's beyond my. I mean, I don't really manage that. I don't. I mean, Yaakov, my son, would know. I mean, he's an oral surgeon. But so I'll call him later. I mean, I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't know what it is. You might have to see your dentist. You know, maybe who knows what it is? I don't know whether it's viral. You know, so you have to see. You have to make a diagnosis, and then first. Okay. Okay. Bye. Yeah, why people think I know?
Okay, stop.
Oh, okay. Toshma. Chazaka lekahuna nesiyas kapayim. If you see somebody yiduchen, it's a chazaka for kahuna. And chiluk grona is giving out truma at the granary. And then the Gemara says edus. And what do you mean edus? Edus is not chazaka. Edus is edus. And lav achikam nesiyas kapayim ki edus. My edus liyuchs nafzis kapayim liyuchs. Just like if you have 2 witnesses saying that he's a kohen is for yichud, so the Nesias Kavayim will work the same. Lo, edus haba mikor chazaka, edus that comes from ha-chazaka. For example, they say that this guy has a chazaka kahuna for a certain thing. So that's like chazaka, it's not edus. I have a chazaka that he's a kohen. So we ask him, what did you see? He was called up kohen. So b'cheska shu kohen and b'cheska shu gadol. Now the rav of the shul could also be called up first. How do you know he's a kohen? Shekora achrav Levi. Now when you call up a rav as Rishon, you don't call a Levi second. So this guy was a kohen because they called the second guy Levi. Ve'aleu Rav Ami l'kun al pi. Haudas l'kamayt Rav Yeshua ben Levi Amalei Muzikani b'zeshu Levi. I have a chazaka that he's a Levi. Amalei Mara Isa. What did you see? Amalei Shekor Sheni B'Esak Nesses. He was called second in shul. B'Cheska Shu Levi. Oh, B'Cheska Shu Gadol. Maybe a Gadol is also called Levi. No, because Shekor Lefon of Kohen. In this case, they called it Kohen. Then they called the second guy the Levi. If it's a Gadol, they're not going to call a Gadol in that setting. Based on that testimony, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi made him a Levi. I have a chazaka that this person's a Kohen. He was called up first Aliyah. Did you see him get truma at the granary? What do you mean? If there's no granary, there's no kahuna. We don't have the truma today. Once we were in front of Rav Yochanan, this case came in front of him. Again, Reish Lakish piped in. Did you see him get truma by the granary? If they close the granaries, do we close down the kahuna? No. He was embarrassed. Omar, you heard something from Rav Yochanan. You didn't say the name of Rav Yochanan. Rav Yochanan was called the Ben Nafcha, like the blacksmith. Rabbi Rav Chia. Chad hela ben al pi aviv l'kuhuna. One elevated a son because the father said he's a kohen. The other said that my brother's a Levi, and they made him a Levi. Tis time to Rabbi Ela ben al pi aviv l'kuhuna. I'll prove to you that was Rebbe who elevated the son to kahuna. The Tanya. A man comes and says, this is my son. He's a kohen. You could give him truma. However, you can't marry a woman b'cheskas kahuna. Different Rebbe. I understand. If you're feeding him truma, let him get married. You can't have it both ways. A father can give his household truma. So since it's biyadu lachil b'truma, we believe him. But a father can't paskin whether or not he's a kohen or not for marriage. It's time that it was Rebbe who held that way. Rav Chia was the one who elevated his brother Leviah. Rav Chia Maishna ben Delo, the Korav Weitzlav. Now, why doesn't he agree that the father can elevate the son? Because he's not impartial. He's related to the Baldin. So Achnami Korav Weitzlav. You can make the same argument regarding the brother. The Gemara answers, "B'meisis lefit tuma." He didn't testify in court. He told a story, and we picked it up. Okay, I prepared another blot, but I am jet lagged. I have to go to sleep.
Ernie. Laila,
Tomorrow 8 o'clock.
Sounds good.
Shkoyach, Ernie.